Hello, it's been a bit of a break. We seem to pop in and out, don't we, with these shows, but the accent's on quality, not quantity, and it's not always possible to get a quality guest every week, but I think we've done well this week. Not one quality guest, but two, hopefully. Seth Bennett. Now, he's been on this show as of old, well, a long time ago, actually. Seth, the former BBC Radio Sheffield sports reporter, now a jack of all trades, a total sporting all-rounder with the BBC. I'm not sure there's a sport out there that he hasn't covered, but we'll ask him that later on. Seth, it's good to see you, and we'll be talking ice hockey with you a little bit later for a special reason, not least that you're an ice hockey coach. Unbelievable that. Anyway, Michael Brown, the former Sheffield United and many other clubs midfielder. I've been chasing Michael for a little while now, finally tracked him down, sort of man-marked him, and here he is. And it's a great time to see you, Michael, with Sheffield United's affairs picking up. And I've seen you there no end of times this season.
Well, actually, I didn't go last night. That was probably the first game I've not been, so they might allow me into Bramall Lane a little bit more. But by the way, I was there against Newcastle. I was at Bristol Rovers away. And the other game, FA Cup, was Plymouth. So I've had a couple of wins for Sheffield. My memory's going past me there. So fantastic that they're just getting a couple of wins of late. And hopefully that gives the team and Chris and everybody a bit of confidence going forward.
Well, it's kept the season alive, Michael, hasn't it? Even Chris Wilder was admitting that they had to beat West Brom. They did it, but it wasn't just a scrape through. I mean, they dominated the game. I don't know if you watched it. I was.
Yeah, I did.
I watched it.
Let me tell you, I was sat watching it. I was doing a bit of gym while I was at home. So I'm working tonight, the Leeds game. So I didn't work last night because the station, etc., didn't cover it as much as what I would have liked to have gone over and seen the game. But ultimately, it was a hard-fought game, and Billy Sharp managed to knock it in. So it was great scenes at the end of the game.
Yeah, we'll come back to Billy Sharp a little bit later, because you can never ever write him off. Also later, we're going to see a certain goal, and Seth Bennett, you were there.
I was there. Yeah, it was one of the many goals that Michael scored in that season. Was it 20 you scored, Michael, that year? Must have been close.
You know, it was more than that, Seth. 22. Please don't say 20. I mean, I've only ever scored in that season, so 22, yeah, fantastic.
It's almost half of the goals that you scored in your professional career, but that was one of many great nights at Bramall Lane, and there was just something special about that period of time, and even just seeing that shirt again just reminds you of what that season was. You know, the wins against Leeds, that semi-final against Liverpool, and everything that went with that semi-final at Old Trafford as well. I mean, again, just another phenomenal night. And it was really, for me, the first time where within my broadcasting career, I'd spent an awful lot of time up in the press box at that time. It was still very early on for me, but I was down pitch side, and I was sitting quite often just next to the bench, listening into what Neil Warnock was screaming onto the field of play. At the end of the game,
did you have your earphones on?
Oh yeah, exactly. It is. He sounded like he was saying cough a lot, but actually I don't think that was necessarily the words he was using. But it was really interesting because that you were very much embraced into that group of players. They were a likable bunch. And, you know, Michael was one of those little rogue players that, you know, maybe he was a bit naughty at times, but he always had something to say. You know, whenever you asked him to do an interview, up until the contract issue, he was always pretty upfront with what was going on. And actually, I'll give you your dues, Michael. I remember doing a big interview with you about your contract at the old training ground, you know, outside that leaky shed.
Yeah.
And you gave just a wonderful insight into where you were, into where your head was. And then one of the other big stories with Michael, of course, was when he departed Bramall Lane. And from memory, and I'm not 100% sure on this, but did you leave on Christmas Eve?
Pretty much, yeah. I think it was pretty much Christmas Eve, and I'm not sure if it was announced, but I'd done the medical, and it was a 2-day medical down at Spurs, and on the 23rd, we finished in the medical, and Spurs put me in a hotel, and that night I actually rang my wife and actually said, I need to show you where I am, and they put me in the Dorchester Hotel, one of the suites, looking over Hyde Park. And it was almost to say, you know, welcome to Spurs. And And obviously from then on, it was such a great day for me and my family to move to the Premier League and to Spurs, an unbelievable club. But very, very sad to have left Sheffield United. I didn't want to leave in any way. If we could have got to the Premier League, it would have been all there for us to carry on. But ultimately, we had an incredible season. What you said there, which I really noted from it, a real likeable, great group. And that was the one thing I was leaving, was a magnificent dressing room, the best I've ever had. All the teams, all the places I've been, that was right up there. You rushed into work, you laughed every single day. And that season was, honestly, it was just amazing. Everything about it, every day you gone in. And you listen to you there, Seth, pitch side and appreciating that sort of feel in the season. That's great memories for me, and great listening to that side of it, of seeing it from the outside, because inside it really felt like that.
We're going to leave you hanging on just to see that goal a little bit longer, because I want people to watch the whole show, you see. So
I'm going to try and show, when we see that goal as well, I'm going to try and show you something that I've got to go with the goal. So I'll get it for you, hopefully.
Brilliant. That's also something to look forward to. The year was 2003, if anybody doesn't realise when it was. I bet you never took your wife to the Dorchester, by the way. I bet there was pressure on to do that after that.
Well, no, I rang her from the hotel. Like I say, I rang her and said, it looks like we've signed for Spurs, because obviously it's a big moment for football. It's a big moment to move the Premier League. It's a financial. It's obviously an all-round Christmas present. And obviously, and I went back to Bramall Lane, and they give me the greatest send-off in the pitch, and never forget that. You know, you're going back and you have to leave, and brilliant.
Brilliant. Something Seth said there, which I made a little note of, because I teased this show with various things on Twitter. A comment he made that Michael, you were one of those little rogue players. Well, I don't
know what he means by that, Brixie. I'll have to have a little word with him about it. He rang me last week for a favour. Now he's called me a rogue. We'll have to see. I might not be able to accommodate him next time.
Well, let me back up, Seth, for a minute. 137 yellow cards and 7 red cards. Do those statistics mean anything to anybody?
Well, the interesting thing is there is one booking that is more memorable than the rest of them. Do you remember that one, Michael? Where it took you, what was it? It took you 80-something minutes.
Stoke away.
To get booked. Just remind us how eventually you got booked and why you got booked in that game.
Well, it was Stoke away, and obviously we talk about the season, we talk about games coming up. We managed to get to a semi-final, and I'm sure this is what you're going for, Seth. I think that's the right one. And we were obviously due to play Arsenal, but the game was quite some way away. And obviously then it was, for 10 bookings, was a 2-match ban. And I'm thinking, the way I play, I'm obviously going to be a little bit tricky not to get involved with 10 bookings. So I'm thinking, how can I get that out of the way, serve a ban, and make sure I hit that game? Because it was an iconic game for Sheffield United, the semi-final of an FA Cup at Old Trafford. And I sort of said to Neil, if I was to get a yellow card on this occasion, well, I don't know how to really phrase it, really. I'm sure if I just thought, well, if I get a yellow card, then it's out the way and done. So I remember being on the pitch, and I'm trying to think who the referee was. It was somebody who I got on really well with. And by the time of you saying all these yellow cards and red cards, I actually got on with some of the officials, even though they would still give me a card. And I kicked the ball away in about 83 minutes. I thought, that's it. It's done. I'll get my 2-match ban. And Michael, what are you doing? Please don't kick the ball away like that. I'm going to let you off on this occasion. You know, and I'm like, really? How could he? Couldn't have been nicer? Could have been more accommodating. So as the ball come back, I just went and booted it away again. And he said, "Come on, I'm going to have to give you a yellow card." I said, "Thank you very much. That's fantastic." And I had 9 nights in Barbados.
Yeah, brilliant.
As a two-week break, and met the team down in Selhurst Park, the hotel there, when I landed in Gatwick. And we played, I think it was a Saturday, Monday, we played Wimbledon and Palace, the 2 away games in 48 hours or something like that. So I met them there for the second game, and I had to buy everybody dinner as a fine for getting too many bookings. Yeah, good story.
Well, this is the guy also, Seth. Michael, you were sent off just 10 minutes into your debut for Manchester City as well. There must be a story there too.
I think it was one of those. I was a young boy, 17 or so, obviously getting your debut for Manchester City. I was only told on the Thursday night, oh, by the way, bring your tracksuit. You're going to travel with the team tomorrow. And I was like, well, I've not even trained with the first team, not been near the first team. It was Alan Ball, who was manager. And they said, right, you're going to travel. So I travelled down the bus and obviously seeing what they do, how they travel, how the first team, there was some serious, obviously big names in the team then, like Niall Quinn, Keith Curle, just to note a couple. So real experienced players. And we got to Loftus Road, which I knew well because as a kid I played there quite a lot as in the academy before I signed for Manchester City. So I knew it. I knew my way around. And I was just talking away. And Alan Ball was announcing the team, and I was looking around thinking, oh, I wonder how it goes, what's happening. And I thought, did he just say my name on the bench? Because honestly, not for 1 second did I thought I was going for any part of the game. So I hadn't, obviously, in my mind, I hadn't planned, I hadn't prepped. And I was on the bench, and I had to double check. And then we were losing the game. I think it was on about 77 minutes. He said, go and warm up. I said, you're coming on. And so, like, from something like that into the Premier League, which was just amazing. I've gone on, I've chased around a couple of tackles. And I remember Andy Impey running towards goal, and Alan Kernigan was covering coming round. And I tugged on Impey's shirt as he went to go towards the goal. And referee come off. I thought, oh, no, I'm going to get a yellow card. Can't believe it. And he banded a red instantly. And actually, if you watch it back, Alan Kernigan was on the cover. I wasn't last man. And as I walked off, I just remember thinking my career's gone from nothing to the most amazing feeling in the world to the lowest. I will never play football at this level ever again. I've made the biggest mistake. So when you talk, I think it was a great learning point for me of highs and lows, how to deal with things. And I ended up sat in the dressing room waiting for everybody to come in. And I think we lost the game 1 or 2.
Well,
yeah, incredible.
We'll get to Blaze in a minute, but for anybody who doesn't know, this guy Michael Brown's done a lot in his life. Hartlepool born, he played for 10 clubs in total, including 2 on loan. One of them was Hartlepool, Manchester City, Sheffield United in a golden era actually under Neil Warnock, Tottenham Hotspur, Fulham, Wigan, Portsmouth, Leeds, and Port Vale. And you know, Michael, before we do get on to matters of Sheffield United, I'd forgotten that you were a manager as well, that you had a brief spell in charge of Port Vale. So yeah, has that put you off management? I mean, you're very well established now as a pundit on radio and TV. Has that put you off coaching and management completely?
No, it hasn't. I really enjoy my time in difficult situations with a club and a little bit of change, turmoil. The owner was sort of wanting to sell. He sort of lost a little bit of love for being a chairman, I think, and he tried different things, tried to cut the corners, and ultimately I played games against Sheffield United as manager. I really enjoyed it. Many challenges along the way, and I just couldn't win with that particular squad. So, as we know in today's market, if you don't win, you leave your job quite quickly. And there was such a big change around; it was almost impossible. But yes, one day you would think, would you like to do it? You need to do it sooner rather than later. You're a long time out of this job. The factors are amazing. What people have to go through and the dedication they put in, which I love being dedicated to things. But you've got to be on the pulse. And now I think it would have to be an unbelievable opportunity for you that you feel like there's some longevity to leave this media role that I've developed. It's took a long time. It took a lot of hard work. I think if you've won the league, you've won the Premier League and you've won the Champions League, you're in a better situation to get media coverage. But ultimately now the competition's fierce regards to getting many jobs. So I've got to go the extra mile with my detail and my dedication towards this. And I really enjoy the media side of it, as you said, but it'd be hard to leave that now.
I've seen you many, many times. In fact, I sit just behind you. I'm doing TalkSport. You're often doing Radio 5 Live, and sometimes you're on TV duty at Bramall Lane. So you've seen a lot of your former club. What have you made the season so far, and what do you think it might hold from here? There's a sense of a turning point. What do you think?
I'm guessing we're talking about Sheffield United. That's what you're meaning. And I think psychologically, it's been so tough for these players and the surrounding group. Obviously, the first team staff, all of the people and I think it's an amazing team down at Sheffield United. And what's great now, I see from the media side, you see even more people, more depth that you hadn't seen before of people involved to try and make Sheffield United be as successful as they can. And what I do say is it's very much a team. I go to other clubs which is a little bit more disjointed. You'll hear a little bit of criticism for certain avenues around the club. All of the people all have the same goal at Sheffield United, and they all want to help you. And they all help me, which is great. I only have to ask. Everyone has to detail, especially on media side of it. You always need that little bit of insight, and it's harder now. You can't go to the training ground. You can't go a little bit closer. And I think Seth will tell you the same. The people that have been so patient with this run, and I'm so pleased that they're getting just some sort of good time, some sort of smile, some sort of something reward for what they've put in, because the games have been so close throughout the season. And I just think now I want the club to try and get as close as they can, keep in distance, and imagine. It's a huge ask, isn't it? But imagine if they could pull it off. What is that? Is that win every other game from 16? It might be. It might not be enough. I was just you try to look at the form, don't you? You try to forecast it, and it's sort of an 8th position finish for the remainder of the season is a big ask, but that's what it is. I mean, Seth, I don't know what you think. I mean, it is a great surrounding, isn't it? You know, of the people and the infrastructure there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what's really interesting is, you know, when they offered Billy Sharp another contract last year, people raised their eyes and thought, really? In the Premier League, is Billy Sharp going to be somebody that can still contribute? And that's what they've done. When they brought Phil Jagielka in, and he didn't play an awful lot of football, yet he still has a role to play within what goes on at that football club. And when you know Chris is at times a little bit up and down in terms of his, you know, energy and his desire to win, and he feels it when Sheffield United don't win. You know, undoubtedly he feels it. But next to him, you have the biggest flat line in a hospital going in Alan Knill, and Alan is brilliant on the training field. There are few better than him. Even when he first started out at Rotherham United, he saw things in a slightly different way, and he's had an ability to, I suppose, calm Chris down when Chris has needed that. But also to keep him up, because Alan's somebody that lives on that training field, and he's more bothered about going and doing that and going and scouting games than he is about anything else that goes on within the Premier League. And you need that. You need those people that will be that flat line, that don't get too excited when things are going well, but also aren't ever going to get down. And it's really, really hard with what happened to Sheffield United. And I think that's going to be one of the crucial things for them as they go through now and they start to pick that momentum up again. Can they really harness it all together and really focus on the second half of this season and look to build for what's going to be for next year, whether that's staying in the Premier League or looking for a bounce back? And the one thing that kind of excites me is you look at everything that went wrong, you know, injuries, signings that took an awful long time to bed in, some of which that haven't quite happened yet. A few wonky noses within that midfield core. I think, you know, there was an issue where they had 4 players that needed to go into 3 slots. There was also the contract issue with Lundstrom as well. All of a sudden, all of that's kind of gone by the wayside. You know, everybody's realised that, look, we just got to go out and play. And then all of a sudden you start to see them get that consistency a little bit more, start to play a little bit better. And all of a sudden, you know, those wins make all the difference.
Yeah, there's a sense of a mental switch being thrown, Michael, where they've said, to hell with worrying and fretting and playing within ourselves. Let's just go out and enjoy it. Do you detect that as well?
Let's go and play now. Let's go and enjoy it. Let's go and win some games. Well, let's go and prove to people that we have got fight. In the dressing room, well, we have got a
couple of individuals just to mention to you, yourself being a combative midfielder, Michael. John Fleck has had an out and in season. Lovely line from Chris Wilder the other day saying that John's brother Jimmy had gone back to Scotland now to the Highland League, and we've got John back. How important is that guy, and how well is he playing right now? It looked absolutely outstanding, I thought, against West Brom.
I mean, I think he's got an incredible energy. I think you look at when John Lundstram went to the Premier League, he hadn't really played in the Championship, and for him to go on and play as many games as he did last season was just remarkable. And I think it's about application. You look at any young player now who's not always the best technically, not always the best tactically, but what John Lundstram's got is energy. He's now improved. He's getting confidence with the longer it's gone on, and he's done remarkable, really. And I think it's a midfield three now that he's gone back to. Obviously, Sanderberg's been forced out, and we know what Norwood can do. I think with that legs around him, Fleck coming back as well. So I think it's a nice combination.
Yeah, John Fleck was the guy that I was talking about there. Zoom and that words get cut off, but
yeah, I think John Fleck, for me, obviously he added goals last year. He needs to add a couple more. I'm sure he gets in some good positions, and I think it's a nice balance in that three. There's lots of players I think who've done well, but he's took the step up incredibly well. And I think there was even talk of bigger clubs watching him, which the journey that John Fleck had gone.
Okay, well, just before we go into the break, and by the way, in part two, we will see that goal. Michael hasn't seen it for at least 5 hours, so we're going to show it to him in a short while, in a couple of minutes. But just before we go into the break, it's very hard to level any kind of criticism at Chris Wilder after the magnificent job he's done, and he's still doing, in my opinion, at Sheffield United. Well, one thing I felt this season is that he's underused Billy Sharp, that he should have involved in more as the most natural goal scorer, if you like, despite what it says on his birth certificate. Do you think that's fair comment or not, Michael?
I would say I think, Chris brought some strikers over the last couple of seasons, probably more mobility than Billy Sharp to give an all-round performance. I think that's what he felt that he needed to add to the team. But what we do know with Billy Sharp, not always the most mobile. He's getting on a little bit, as we do know that. But I think he's got that knack for goal. Pressure penalties in front of goal, and he's the leader in the dressing room. I think that's the thing we're always aware of, and I think he's done great. And I really like him. He's always got time for me. He's very much Sheffield United. Him and Phil Jagielka, I would say, behind the scenes, has sat patiently, tried to help that squad, and I feel like he's still smiling. He does the pitch, and I give them a little bit of stick running at Bristol Rovers. I went round after they'd won the game, and Billy and Phil had just come back from COVID, and they're running on the pitch, and I'm shouting, "Come on, you've got to be quicker than that, you two. You're getting a bit slow, the old men," and they were giving me a bit of stick, and fitness coach was on them, and I said, "You never know when you might play. You never know when you might be back." And these guys are still training, still putting it in. And Phil's 38, Billy's 35. He'll have obviously more to prove than Phil will. But it just shows you, doesn't it? Their application is great. They keep going. They keep working hard. Phil goes and gets man of the match against Manchester United. Billy scoring goals. It's a lesson pro. Everybody out there, your chance will come if you keep having the right attitude, the right desire and application. And I'm really pleased for them too.
Cheers, Michael. Well, that video will come as well in part two. We'll also talk Sheffield Steelers and hope that 2021 can finally be a better year for the ice hockey world. James Gregg will join us to round up whatever other sporting news there is in the area. There's always some. And we'll be rejoined by Seth Bennett and Michael Brown in a couple of minutes. See you then.